And good Saturday evening, and welcome to Law Call on WLOX and WDAM. I'm Ken Flanagan. So happy to have you along live in studio with us on this Saturday evening. Our topic tonight, the Singing River retirement lawsuit. Yes, it has been making its way through the court system these many years. We got the perfect guy on the show tonight to go over it with you. Singing River retirement updates. The phone lines are now open, 896-0713 or 1-800-349-0713. Tonight, as Jim was saying earlier, the Singing River retirement lawsuit. Jim, been a lot of updates since the last time we talked about this.
That's right. You know, this has been major news on the coast, I guess, for the better part of the last 7 or 8 years. As those who were involved know, there was really a dogfight, ultimately a resolution with the hospital where the retirement pension plan was provided with an additional $156 million. But recent developments have provided an opportunity for retirees who've had their benefits cut to recover some of that from some other companies that really were negligent in their handling of the retirement.
And since Jim and I are besties and we talk all the time, we prepared some graphics for tonight's show. We do talk a good bit. Jim, here was the big one that you sent to me earlier this week. Major defendant settles with Jackson County for $20 million. Talk to me a little about that.
So here's what's happened. So there was a resolution, a class action resolution that I was a lead trial attorney in that was approved by the federal court system about 4 years ago. And so lawsuits have proceeded now against an outfit called KPMG, which is one of the largest accounting firms in the world, and Transamerica, both of whom were involved in managing this pension plan. Okay?
Big names.
And so there was a recent settlement just before the end of the last year. KPMG paid $20 million to the county for the lawsuit that the county had brought, alleging that KPMG had not properly performed accounting practices and it helped cause the loss to the pension plan. That same defendant is being sued by my firm and others in an attempt to recover from KPMG money for the individual pension members who had a loss.
Jim, it's interesting how much that turned over the course. At the very beginning, I don't know if you knew it was going to go that direction, but like you said, you were the lead attorney on that. How that evolved over the last couple of years has been very interesting.
It really has been a lot of behind-the-scenes going on work in terms of, it's not been in the news, but a lot of litigation has been going on. The county has sued KPMG. The hospital itself has sued KPMG, and we are handling cases on behalf of individual pension members who sustained a loss and suing KPMG as well. And, you know, $20 million, a lot of money. The companies generally don't do that if their accounting practices are perfect, right? Okay,
right.
So
$20 million is a big number.
It really is.
It's a big number.
But the sad part is, you know, it's a great settlement for the county.
Yeah.
The pension members aren't going to get any of that. If we're able to recover against KPMG, that money will go into the pension members' pockets individually.
Quick side note, I want to thank Scott for turning on the air conditioner just a second. I really appreciate it.
That was needed.
Yeah, it really was. I didn't want to say anything, but now that it's on, thank you, Scott or Chris, whichever one did it. Second big thing, Jim, that we were talking about that you sent over, federal court remands 272 cases back to state court. That's a big deal, too.
It's a big deal. So all this has happened in the last 6 months, 5 to 6 months. So this was a big deal. We had filed a number of these lawsuits in state court, and one of the entities, Transamerica, had tried to remove those to federal court. It was their advantage to be in federal court. Very significantly, they had moved 272 cases of pension members to federal court, and we're trying to litigate them then. We opposed that. We fought that. We won on that issue. Those cases now have been remanded back to the state court system, which we think is very good news for pension members.
Jim, third big point here to mention to you, the Supreme Court consolidates all the cases into state court.
Right.
When you hear the term Supreme Court and then you hear consolidate, then that's big news as well.
Big news, and again, this just happened in the last month. This one's happened just in the last month or so. Again, we had a number of cases filed in state court. They were spread amongst a couple of different judges. For efficiency's sake, the Supreme Court issued a ruling and consolidated all the state court cases now in front of one single judge here on the coast in state court. And so now this litigation is about to kick off in a big way. And if you're going to be involved in this, if you're going to potentially recover, you have to be involved in this litigation. You can't stand on the sidelines. It's not like a class action where you can stand on the sidelines and when it's over, just participate. You have to go out and be involved in the litigation.
And Jim, I guess that's the big thing. Like you said, a month ago that consolidation occurred, and then that's when you decided, hey, we got to do another show on this.
Right.
Back in 2019, my gosh, I think we did every other show, every other phone call seemed to be about that. And then the last, I guess with the pandemic things, the pandemic. You might remember that. Remember that thing from last 2 years ago? It's the whole thing.
But, this has really been a terrible, difficult situation. These retirees work, many of them, their entire lives, their entire working adult lives, counting on a pension plan, and at the last minute had the rug pulled out from under them. And the companies that were involved in doing this, again, the hospital stepped up and done what they're supposed to do. These multi-billion-dollar, multinational companies have not paid a cent.
Wow.
And they had a lot of skin in the game. They had made a lot of decisions and influence decisions that resulted in this loss. But you've got to step up. You've got to be in the game if you intend to make a recovery.
All right. Now, that is our topic for tonight. If you're ready, let's get to Phyllis on line 1 in Ocean Spring. Phyllis, good evening.
Hi, Phyllis.
What can we help you with?
Good evening.
Hey.
Good evening. My question is, if you're getting ready to retire with the the Singing River retirement system, and your spouse passes before you get your settlement, is she still due her half of her 401k?
Great question, Phyllis. And it sounds like you're probably speaking with a little bit of personal experience here. These are always difficult.
Sorry if you had a loss, Phyllis. So let me make sure I understand. You were working at Singing River, a spouse passed, or your spouse worked there? I was a little confused.
I think their spouse.
My mother's spouse.
Okay.
Oh,
he
your
works
mother's
there,
spouse. Gotcha.
And she has stage 4 cancer, terminally ill, and he's getting ready to retire. But if she passed before the retirement is finished, is her will still do her portion of the 401k? The 401k.
It's going to largely depend on whether he's considered vested, which is going to be a product of how long he's been there and in the plan. Okay, and so if he's been there for some period of time, then it's an asset of his that will go to his estate or wherever he designates it should go to. Okay, and if he's been there a very short period of time, then it may not. How long did he work there? Ballpark.
42 years.
Oh, well, he's been there plenty of time.
I'm going to say vested. Vested.
Yes. So it should. Yes, absolutely. The retirement should pass. That's an asset of his. He's put money in that plan. That's his money.
That's right.
And if he passes, it goes to whoever he says it goes to. Okay.
Jim is probably. Go ahead, Phyllis. I'm sorry.
That his spouse. Excuse me. The way it's written up, that his spouse get half.
Yeah.
So if she passes because she's terminally ill, would it go to her will?
Yeah. So it depends on generally the way it works is that he can designate as the employee who he wants it to go to. Okay. And so if he specifies in a will that he wants it to be passed that way, once he passes, it becomes a part of what's called his estate, and it's distributed the way that he wanted it distributed in the will. Okay.
Jim, is it worth Phyllis talking to, an attorney, make sure the will, everything's good to go, or the family member, not Phyllis herself?
Let's talk about wills just very, very briefly.
Yeah,
There's
important.
A lot of wills that people get online and try to do themselves.
That's right.
Usually not a good idea, okay? There are certain things that have to be in place for the will to be enforceable and appropriate, or somebody can challenge it. So might want to make sure things are in order. I know it's a tough time,
right?
But make sure the will was prepared, is up to date, that you have copies of it, and that everything's in place before. And I hate to this sounds
sure, but
sounds bad, before he gets in too bad a shape,
right?
To be able to make adjustments if he wants to. Okay. So I would just make sure the will's in place. You consider it's a good will, it's prepared by an attorney, then you ought to be in good shape.
Sure.
Okay?
Phyllis, great question tonight. Sensitive question. Appreciate you calling in with it, and on topic too.
Thoughts or prayers are with you.
Maybe, absolutely. It's always tough. Yeah, maybe so. Jim, got a great email question that came in from us. Yes, good night, Phyllis. From Ryan, emailed in earlier this week. This was perfect for the show, obviously. Ryan emailed in, why do big cases like Singing River take so long? Just regular injury cases take so long also to get through court. Isn't there such a thing as the need for a speedy trial anymore? Ryan venting it out on his Twitter account this morning.
I get this a lot, and we sympathize, especially in my line of work where we work for free until the case is over. So no, only person that wants the case over quicker than me is the clients that I represent, and I understand that. But the problem is, particularly with a large complex case like Singing River, you have powerful defendants with almost unlimited resources. KPMG and Transamerica, two
big names,
huge names, so some of the largest in the company in their fields, and they have almost unlimited resources, and you have to be able to fight and conduct a sustained fight to get the result that you deserve. And sometimes it takes a long time. They throw up all kinds of legal hurdles, and you have to jump those hurdles and get to it. And so we press the cases as hard as we can. We have been involved in the cases in federal court, in state court. We've been to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals prior to the last settlement twice. Went to the U.S. Supreme Court twice. Okay, that shows you how these things can drag out and be fought. But you have to be vigilant and you have to be patient. The other thing is we have court systems that are overrun a lot of times and inundated.
Oh, don't forget COVID.
Don't forget criminal cases. And on top of that, courts were primarily shut down to a large extent for the last year and a half.
Year and a half, easy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, did you put all that mileage on your taxes? You get to deduct that. All that traveling back and forth. Maybe mention it.
Good tip.
Yeah, good tip. Well, maybe you should have gotten that one last week. A little late on that one. All right, that takes us into our final break. We're running out of time. About 30 seconds left in the show. Just real quick, Singing River Pension Plan, big updates, and they need to call you on that too, don't they?
Look, a lot happening in this case just in the last 90 days. A lot's going to be happening in the upcoming year. If you don't get on board, you will be left behind. This is not a situation, and I'm not just speaking out of turn here.
Sure.
This is not a situation where you can decide later if you want to get involved or not.
Right.
Because if a settlement comes down and it's resolved and you're not included, you're not already included, you're probably excluded and you're not going to recover anything. I hate that because people have real losses.
Right.
People are struggling, people that worked out there and involved in this retirement system, and they deserve additional compensation, but you got to get involved if you're going to get it.
Yeah, like Phyllis was saying earlier in the show. All right, everybody, thank you so much for giving us a call tonight. Really appreciate everybody calling in and staying up watching with us here on Saturday night. We're back next week with Matthew Metier, and we'll be taking more of your calls and questions here on Law Call. But until then, my friends, good night.